ShopPAK has a very powerful and extensive inventory capability. For materials that are often used on jobs, it usually makes more sense to stock them as inventory items and reserve them against specific jobs, as opposed to buying them directly for each individual job. This cuts down on the number of purchase orders, which saves time and money, and significantly reduces the time that a job gets delayed because it is waiting on materials. The inventory form is used to create, update, and delete inventory items. On the left side of the tab is the inventory item list. It contains the inventory items that you've either opened or created, and represent your working list. If you select a particular inventory item from the inventory list, you'll see the inventory items information displayed on the inventory form. ShopPAK supports LIFO, FIFO, and moving weighted average asset valuation and job costing. Consult with your accountant and decide which approach best suits your business needs before creating and using inventory. Once decided, don't change it. This can cause problems with inventory average unit cost calculation and overall inventory asset valuation. When you create a new ShopPAK inventory item, it must be tied back to a ProjectPAK library item. If you don't have the correct ProjectPAK library item to base the new inventory item upon, you'll need to first create it in ProjectPAK. ShopPAK allows two ways of associating a library item with an inventory item. You can create a one-to-one association in which a ProjectPAK library item is tied to one and only one inventory item. Or you can choose the same ProjectPAK library item as the basis for multiple inventory items. First, let's take a look at a one-to-one relationship. For example, let's say you've defined 3/4 inch by 4 foot by 8 foot particle board in your ProjectPAK library. And because it is used in most jobs you win, you decide to stock the material. Since this material is purchased exactly as it is defined, in other words, there are no variations on size, color, cost, or quality, it makes sense to create a specific inventory item called 3/4 inch by 4 foot by 8 foot particle board and tie it back to the exact same ProjectPAK library item. The primary advantage of a one-to-one relationship is that the estimate conversion utility, the engineering link programs, and of course, ShopPAK, can automatically find the associated inventory item code when working with ProjectPAK library items. For this reason, we highly recommend that customers use the one-to-one relationship approach when creating ShopPAK inventory items. The only possible disadvantage is you may have to expand your ProjectPAK library to accommodate all of the unique ShopPAK inventory items you stock. The second approach uses a one-to-many relationship. This approach makes sense if several ShopPAK inventory items can be based on the same ProjectPAK library item. For example, let's say you have a library item called Bid Vertical Grade Laminate. The library item's unit cost is a standard cost as opposed to a true price. This makes sense when bidding different types of laminates and you simply need a ballpark price. It may be that you don't know the color when estimating, or maybe the different types of laminate or colors don't materially affect estimated cost. Let's also say that you store leftover pieces of laminate from jobs into stock. For efficiency's sake, you tie all the kinds of laminates you stock back to one generic ProjectPAK library item you call Bid Vertical Grade Laminate. The advantage of a one-to-many relationship is you don't have to create specific ProjectPAK library items for each unique inventory item you stock. You simply have a generic library item that supports a family of related ShopPAK inventory items. The disadvantage is the estimate conversion utility, the engineering link programs, and ShopPAK can't automatically find the associated inventory item code when working with ProjectPAK library items. Since they see several candidate inventory items linked to the same library item, they don't know which one to use and thus leave the inventory code blank. You can mix and match how ShopPAK inventory items map back to the ProjectPAK library. For most of your inventory items, it will make sense to establish a one-to-one relationship. For some of your inventory items, however, you may want to set up a one-to-many relationship. Before creating inventory items, you need to define some inventory value lists. Go to the Define menu, select Inventory, and then Category. Inventory Category allows you to group similar inventory items together for management and asset valuation purposes. Category is a required field when creating new inventory items. ShopPAK ships 3 predefined category list values: raw materials, finished goods, and supplies. Feel free to change or delete these items as well as add new inventory categories as we've done here. To create a new category, click New and enter a name. If the category contains finished goods, make sure you put a check in the box. Go to the Define menu, scroll down to Inventory, and select Location. Inventory location contains the physical shop locations where inventory is stored. Each ShopPAK inventory item must have at least one inventory location. However, ShopPAK supports multiple locations if you store a particular inventory item in multiple locations. Location is broken down into 3 hierarchical levels: building, zone, and bin. Building is mandatory, whereas zone and bin are optional. Each location component consists of a code and a description. Building has a 1-character alpha code. Zone and bin have 1 or 2 alphanumeric characters. Since location codes are short and a bit cryptic, we recommend using description to clarify the exact location. The inventory form has 2 optional user-defined pick boxes. The values you define are available for all inventory items. To set up these pick box values, go to the Define menu, select ShopPAK Options, and then select the Miscellaneous tab. As you can see, we've defined color and species for our user-defined pick lists. Once you've labeled the pick lists, enter list values by going to the Define menu, scroll down to Inventory, and select User-Defined Pick Box Values. Click the name of the tab you wish to add a value to, and then click New. Type in a name and click OK. To create a new inventory item, go to the File menu and select New, or simply click the New Record icon from the speed bar. Choose the ProjectPAK library item that the inventory item is related to and click the OK button. You'll see the inventory item's description is initially the same as the associated library item's description. You'll also see a value in inventory code, as well as the extended description fields if the library item had corresponding values for these fields. You can edit inventory code, description, and the extended descriptions if it makes sense. If you're using a one-to-many relationship between the inventory item and the ProjectPAK library item, then you'll probably need to expand upon these fields to differentiate this inventory item from the other inventory items that are based on the same generic ProjectPAK library item. Changes made to the inventory form are not copied back to the ProjectPAK library item. Although they're linked in the database, you can change inventory item descriptive information without changing the corresponding library item's descriptive fields. Select a category from the drop-down list, as well as any of your user-defined pick list values that are appropriate. The stock status area contains several read-only inventory item counts. ShopPAK updates the quantity fields based on inventory-oriented events such as posting a purchase order, receiving a shipment, picking inventory from stock, or creating an adjustment transaction. If the inventory item needs to be reordered when its quantity is at or below a threshold level, enter the inventory quantity in the reorder point field. You will also need to enter the quantity you typically purchase when placing an order in the standard order quantity field. When creating a new inventory item, the average stock unit cost is painted red. This is the only time you're allowed to manually edit average unit cost. It defaults to the associated Project Pack library item's unit cost. Once the inventory item is created, ShopPAK protects this field and calculates the average cost based on the inventory valuation method you're using, as well as the quantity on hand. An inventory item can be stored at multiple locations throughout your shop. ShopPAK maintains inventory counts at each physical location for each inventory item stored at that location. If you store inventory stock at multiple locations in your shop, employees must identify not only the inventory item code, but the exact location they picked stock from. This is the only way ShopPAK can maintain accurate inventory counts. However, if you store an inventory item at just one location, employees only need to identify the inventory item they picked from stock. When you create a new inventory item, you must identify at least one inventory location where the item will be stored. To add an inventory location, right-click the location grid and select Add. This displays the inventory location dialog box. You must choose a building from the drop-down list. Zone and bin are optional. A handy feature in ShopPAK is the auto-receive location option. If you always store an inventory item in the same physical location when you receive a shipment that contains that inventory item, ShopPAK can automatically adjust the location's on-hand quantity accordingly. This saves you from manually choosing the correct location upon receipt of a shipment that contains inventory items. When you add the first location for a new inventory item that you're creating, the quantity tag is painted red. This is the only time that you're allowed to edit location quantity. Type the initial quantity that you have at this location. Optionally, enter the size of the inventory item that is kept at this location. Once a location has been created, other options become available from the right-click menu. Select Modify to make any needed changes to the location. Quantity is protected. You'll need to do an adjustment transaction or do a transfer if you want to change inventory item location quantity. If you store a particular inventory item at multiple locations, you'll need to transfer inventory stored at one location to another location. To transfer material, select Transfer from the menu. Select Adjust to make any adjustments to the quantity or cost of an inventory item. If you need to adjust available inventory because the physical inventory count differs from ShopPAK's counts, do an adjustment. An adjustment creates a transaction that records who made the adjustment, the date it occurred, and the type of adjustment made. ShopPAK's inventory system is totally transaction-driven, and thus, every event creates an audit trail entry. You can create material labels by inventory location. Select Generate Labels from the menu and enter the number of labels you wish to generate. Generating labels is a distinct step from printing labels. When you generate labels, ShopPAK writes label information to the database. Later, you can print all of the generated material labels at one time as a batch. There's too much inventory-related information to fit neatly on one panel, so ShopPAK organizes inventory information into tabs that run along the bottom of the inventory form. The second subtab, Costs, is a read-only grid that shows the active inventory item cost information. With the appropriate level of security, a ShopPAK user can access the Modify Cost segment utility. Before attempting to use the utility, you must be given the minimum of Add Update privilege for the Inventory tab by your system's administrator. Right-click in the Costs grid and select Modify. Enter in a new unit cost and hit the Tab button. The new average unit cost and valuation are below in red. Click Save Changes to accept the change. To view the net effect on valuation, go to the Reports menu, scroll down to Inventory, and select Inventory Transaction Report. Filter the report by selecting Inventory Code and type in the appropriate code. The third subtab, Vendors, contains two grids that show the vendors that supply the active inventory item. The top grid is read-only. It lists the vendors that are indirectly associated with the active inventory item through the Inventory Items ProjectPAK Library Item Association. Any changes back in ProjectPAK that affect library item supplier information are automatically reflected in this grid. The bottom grid contains vendors that you directly tie to the active inventory item from ShopPAK. If the item has a one-to-many relationship with a ProjectPAK library item, or the ProjectPAK library item has a bid price rather than a real price, then you'll want to assign the vendor from ShopPAK. To add a vendor, right-click in the bottom grid and select Add. This displays the Inventory Supplier dialog box. Click Vendor and choose the vendor you wish to assign to the active inventory item. Enter the stock number and unit cost and click OK. The fourth subtab, Reservations, contains a read-only grid that lists the reservations that have been placed against the active inventory item. There are two types of reservations, PO and manual. PO reservations are created automatically when you post a PO that has a PO item of type reserved. Manual reservations are created via PO Builder, or when you select New from the reservation grid. Right-click the Reservations grid to bring up a pop-up menu with the following commands: New, Modify, Delete, Reassign, and Generate Labels. The first four commands are only applicable to manual type reservations. For an in-depth explanation of each of these commands, please refer to Chapter 12, Inventory Form, of the ShopPAK User's Guide. The fifth subtab, Transactions, contains an interactive grid that lists transactions for the active inventory item filtered by transaction type and date range. To get a report listing transactions, first select the transaction type from the first drop-down list, and then select the date range. The sixth subtab, Notes, gives you a freeform area to record notes about the active inventory item. If the inventory item has notes, ShopPAK displays a notes icon in the upper left-hand corner of the Details subtab. The seventh subtab, Assign Location, is used to manually assign an inventory location to a new shipment that contains inventory items that don't have an auto-receive location. To see a list of inventory items that have been received but have not yet been assigned to a physical inventory location, select a filter from the Filter By drop-down list. There are two ways of assigning a location to a received inventory item. You can either pinpoint the location of a particular item via its location drop-down box, or select the items that are going to be placed in the same physical location and click the Assign Location button. ShopPAK automatically updates the inventory items counts at the location level, as well as at the overall inventory item level. If you're assigning inventory quantity to a new location, in other words, the inventory item did not previously have inventory located at that location, ShopPAK automatically creates the new location record for the inventory item and updates the location count accordingly. The 8th sub-tab, Pieces, is used to manage inventory items that have been set up by the piece. When you first create an inventory item, you mark whether or not the inventory item will be managed by the piece or by the batch. Choose Batch when all occurrences of the inventory item are essentially the same. For example, one instance of a 3/4 inch by 4 foot by 8 foot sheet of particle board is indistinguishable from the next sheet. However, if you stock an item that has unique characteristics from one occurrence to the next, for example, corian or granite, you'll need to manage the inventory item by the piece. If managing by the piece, use the Piece tab to add, change, and delete inventory pieces. To see a list of inventory pieces, select a filter from the Filter By drop-down list. For the most part, inventory item piece records are created automatically as you receive new shipments that contain inventory items that are managed by the piece. However, you may need to create a new inventory piece record from time to time if a partially used inventory piece is returned from production back into inventory. To create a new piece, right-click on the Pieces grid and select New. This displays the Inventory Piece dialog box. Fill out the dialog box. Job ID/description and customer are optional. The other fields are required. To distinguish each separate inventory item piece, type in a description, size, and serial number as needed. ShopPAK generates a number of inventory reports that enable you to look at several inventory items at the same time. Many of the inventory reports let you filter and sort the inventory information in a variety of ways. To generate inventory item reports, go to Reports, scroll down to Inventory, and click the specific inventory report you wish to generate. For more information on each report, please refer to Chapter 21 of the ShopPAK User's Guide.